Welcome back. You're still tuned to Network Africa on Channels Television with me, Cynthia Are. Now, one of Africa's features which sets it apart from the rest of the world, is its amazing wildlife. Sadly, with the rate at which animal abuse is thriving, specifically poaching, that might become a thing of the past. The situation has escalated to the point that in the next 10 years, elephants might cease to exist, now that 30,000 of them are killed on an annual basis. Well, if you think this is impossible, and when I say this, I'm referring to extinction, just flash back to 2011 when a certain breed of rhinoceroses was declared extinct. That's the western black rhinoceros. All hands appear to be on deck at the moment, with new measures being taken to counter the vice. Here's more on the real cost of extinction at this point. Now, one of the threats of extinction is, or the threat of poaching is the threat of extinction. Extinction is the greatest threat to animals that are victims of wildlife poaching. The Sumatran tiger is a critically endangered species right now, and it is poached and sold for its parts, including its skin, teeth, bones, and claws, for up to $5,000. Another cost of poaching is it's a blow on the tourism industry. The extinction of a species can have a negative economic effect on a local community's tourism industry. A community that relies on its wildlife to attract tourists is at great risk of economic hardship if the prevalence of poaching is high. And then there's the threat to the ecosystem. We need various species of flora and fauna in our environmental ecosystems so that it can maintain healthy and balanced state. And the survival of our own species is very dependent on the survival of animals as well. Well, joining us to give us a better understanding of these new measures is the Director Program Design for the African Wildlife Foundation, Jamil Mandima. Jamil, thank you very much for joining us on the program. It's good to see you again.
It is my pleasure, Cynthia, and indeed this is an issue of serious concern for us and the rest of the global community.
Indeed, it's not one to play with at all, because it appears as though since the last time we spoke last year, it's actually worsened. Now, we've seen a ban, for instance, on the import and export of ivory in Hong Kong, trying to preserve elephants, and also a measure such as dyeing of tusks to make them useless to poachers. These are significant in truth, but are they enough?
Well, the examples you pointed to are indeed welcome steps, and it's good to see all of us thinking beyond the box. There is no doubt, as a global community, we have all come together and tried to bring the best available of technologies to deal with the issue. The fight continues. We are getting better and better, but obviously criminals tend to try to get more sophisticated as this, effort of us to stop it continues. So we have to keep the efforts up. With regard to some of the steps taken by Hong Kong and other nations, I think that is welcome to be on deck. Once the consumption and those countries that are used as transit are taking steps, it means whoever is involved in this trade finds it more and more difficult to be able to get it easy, and hopefully over time they will be dissuaded from continuing, because it now becomes high risk. The issue of dyeing, elephant tusks, I like the idea of thinking outside the box, but we all know that, we are talking of, 500,000 elephants that are roaming the wilderness areas in these range countries. So the practical elements of being able to implement such a solution in itself is daunting. And then secondly, it will obviously come with costs that require taking down the elephants. And our thinking is that we welcome ideas that are outside the box, but it is probably better to invest those resources to test and research in this approach to really reinforce the existing technologies of stopping the killing by having people on the ground, and then also ensuring we stop the trafficking and create awareness on the market.
Jamil, at this point, that's as regards elephants. But when we look at cases like that of the Sumatran tiger that is poached for its teeth, claws, and also skin, my emphasis is on the teeth and claws. These parts are actually easier to conceal compared to tusks and the skin. What can be done to preserve those types of wildlife, not the ones that don't possess tusks, like the Sumatra tiger?
So a couple of things. First of all, it takes policy initiatives and ensuring that the laws that govern illegal trade and offtake are very strong and are enforced, which means we have to ensure that the whole process of sentencing and providing punitive sentences for whoever kills those Sumatran tigers are really serious. And then secondly, we have started using sniffer dogs at points of transit, and they can be trained to sense different odors, including the paws and those claws. And then lastly, and more important, is about awareness of the consumers. If there is no buyer, once the buying stops, of course, the killing stops. And we need to continue ramping up the efforts of ensuring that the consumers of the products that are made out of these claws are aware that, in fact, we are in the process of losing the tigers. And we can't afford to do that because there are other implications,
Yes.
that come with it. The majority of those that buy are not aware because the criminals, of course, don't, say that.
Yes. So finally, Jamil, as individuals, for instance, myself and our viewers, who would like to contribute to the fight against poaching, what can we do in our own little way to stop this vice?
So, great question. We all have a role to play. Pass the message. Once you come across the information that this is creating, serious threat and leading to extinction, let your next colleague know about it and ensure that you don't consume or partake of it. And if you see something, say something. If you think something is suspicious, please let everybody know. And we can also also as an update to say, as you travel to Africa and ports of exit and entry, we have deployed sniffer dogs and we are going to be sniffing. So for any traveler, please do warn them that they should not in any way be tempted to be complicit to this crime. And of course, donations are welcome in any way, and nothing is ever too small to contribute to this big issue.
Jamil Mandima, thank you so much for the insight and for joining us on Network Africa. It's been a pleasure. We hope to have you again very soon. Jamil Mandima is the Director Program Design for the African Wildlife Foundation, speaking with us from Washington, D.C. Well, still to come on Network Africa, the drought in South Africa worsens. Experts deem it the worst in decades. Details in just a moment.